Kane, members of the Commission, good afternoon. When I last appeared before you, I talked about New York City Police Department's efforts to defend the city against a terrorist enemy with a propensity to return to the scene of the crime. Since then, two more al-Qaeda plots involving New York have been uncovered. One involved a scheme to destroy the Brooklyn Bridge. The other would have given al-Qaeda the wherewithal to ship weapons into the heart of Manhattan. Last year, al-Qaeda operatives infiltrated a garment district business whose containers moved material from Pakistan to the port of Newark, and from there by truck into Manhattan. Again, just last year, al-Qaeda operative Ayman Faris was in New York City, within walking distance of where we sit today, to engage in reconnaissance of the Brooklyn Bridge for the purpose of taking it down. Faris sent back word to his handlers that, quote, the weather is too hot, meaning security on the bridge was too tight. The police department is spending $200 million a year to maintain the kind of climate control that foiled Ayman Faris. I cite these two terrorist plots as a reminder that New York City remains squarely fixed in al-Qaeda's sights. They are only the most recent of multiple attempts, two of which succeeded. The first bombing of the World Trade Center in 1993, and of course the horrific events of 2001. New York City remains in the crosshairs, and nowhere is the effort to prevent another attack being undertaken with greater urgency. In addition to the dollar cost, this has required that we divert 1,000 police officers to counterterrorism duties every day and engage in extensive training and preparation. That includes improved coordination with the fire department, who, as Commissioner Scopetta said, the commanders now fly in police helicopters to better manage large fires. We are also providing televised links from our helicopters to fire commanders on the ground. A police captain responds to all fires that are 2 alarms or higher. We have ranking officers from both departments serving as liaison in each other's headquarters. As I discussed in my appearance before the Commission last year, we've taken a number of significant steps to defend the city. I'll briefly elaborate on the progress we've made since then. Beginning in January 2002, we created a new Bureau of Counterterrorism, and we expanded our intelligence division. We recruited outstanding individuals with extensive federal intelligence and counterterrorism experience to run them. We've developed a counterterrorism training curriculum for all ranks. In addition, we procured and distributed personal protective equipment for every one of our police officers to use in the event of a chemical, biological, or radiological attack. We built a state-of-the-art counterterrorism center equipped with the latest computer and communication technology. We staffed it with police officers who speak foreign languages, including Arabic, Pashto, Farsi, and Urdu, to track information by al-Qaeda and its supporters. We've also tested the foreign language skills of our workforce, registering approximately 275 certified interpreters of 45 different foreign languages among our uniform and civilian personnel. We offer their services to federal investigators and the intelligence community. We've assigned 250 officers to our Counterterrorism Bureau. Over 130 of them have been posted to the Joint Terrorist Task Force with the FBI. That compares to just 17 officers assigned there on September 11th. We've also posted New York City detectives to the National JTTF in Washington and to the Department of Homeland Security. Our detectives assigned to the JTTF have taken part in important terrorist-related investigations in Jordan, Germany, Kuwait, and Indonesia. This collaboration with our federal partners has resulted in improved cooperation and information sharing with the FBI and others. We look forward to further improvements as the FBI implements reforms outlined by Director Mueller before this Commission last month. In addition to enhancing our domestic law enforcement partnerships, we have posted New York City detectives to Interpol headquarters in Lyon, France, to Tel Aviv, to London, Toronto, Montreal, and Singapore. We've also sent our detectives to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and to Afghanistan to help interrogate terrorist suspects there. We're being very proactive internationally in a way the police department never was before, and it's paying off. After the recent terrorist train bombing in Moscow subway in February, and then the March 11th attack in Madrid, we sent New York City police officers to both cities to learn as much as they could. Their information was used to reconfigure the protection of our own subway system. Last year, at the beginning of the war in Iraq, we implemented a comprehensive security plan known as Operation Atlas. Given the ongoing terrorist threat, Atlas remains in effect today. Broadly speaking, Operation Atlas has tightened the protective net around the city by increasing vigilance at all entry points into New York and by placing mass transit and other potential targets under much greater scrutiny. We've also deployed our COBRA teams, which specialize in chemical, biological, and radiological events. All recruits in the police academy now undergo mandatory COBRA training. In addition, we are engaged in COBRA cohort training, as we call it, for 10,000 precinct-based officers. Cohort training, paid for with overtime provided by the federal government, involves taking squads of officers who normally work together and train them in a team to respond to attacks. We expect all of this training to be completed in time for the Republican National Convention this August. We have completed the distribution of basic personal protective equipment to over 33,000 members of the police department and more advanced equipment to an increasing number of officers. Pager-sized radiation detectors are now carried by every police sergeant on patrol. Through our Nexus program, we are reaching out to businesses that terrorists might seek to exploit. We want businesses to report any unusual orders or anomalies that might suggest terrorist involvement. Detectives have paid thousands of visits to businesses throughout the city and beyond to increase their counterterrorism awareness. We also exchange threat information daily with the city's corporate and institutional security directors through an instant messaging system. Community affairs officers in every police precinct brief members of the public on terrorism awareness and how they can report anything suspicious to our terrorism hotline. Approximately 20,000 calls have been received since the hotline's inception 2 years ago. Defending the city against the threat of global terror comes at a steep price. We estimate the annual cost of our counterterrorism efforts to be over $200 million, as I said. Currently, Operation Atlas is costing the city approximately $1 million a week in overtime. Such expenses could not come at a worse time in terms of New York's fiscal recovery. But these expenditures are dwarfed by the potential cost of not doing enough to defend ourselves. Regrettably, the flood of federal support one would expect to flow to New York as a result of living in a crosshairs has not materialized. The police department, practically alone, is defending New York's people, infrastructure, and corporate and institutional headquarters from another terrorist attack. The President's 2005 budget request shifts more funding to high-risk threat areas like New York. However, the list of these areas has been expanded from 7 to 80. This means that New York would receive an even smaller percentage of overall Homeland Security funds than in the past. We don't believe this approach works. As the ongoing principal target of terrorism, New York merits more federal support. While we appreciate the funding we have received to date, it is less than half of what we need. We need help with the huge ongoing operational costs the police department incurs to defend against terrorism. The federal government must invest realistically in protecting those areas the terrorists are likely to try to hit again. Along with a few other major cities, New York tops that list. Everything we know about al-Qaeda tells us this is true. It is a lesson from our history we simply cannot afford to ignore. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. Obviously, I'll answer any questions you might have.